Area and perimeter. So it's important to make sure that you understand there's a big difference between area and perimeter. So area is measured with squares. Okay, so area is going to be made by multiplying groups of lengths with width. Okay, so for example, a 2 by 3 rectangle is going to give us 6 squares. So we measure area in squares. Perimeter, on the other hand, is when you unwrap the outside and lay it in a straight line. It's a one-dimensional quantity. Okay, so perimeter is measured in a line. Area is measured in squares. Okay, so make sure that you watch the videos, the two videos to talk about perimeter, which we've defined here as a distance around the object, and area, which is the number of squares that fill a space. Okay, and we find that with length times width. That length times width is very useful, and we use that model a lot in lots of things in math. So we can find the area and perimeter of the following objects. So this object here, to the left, we have all the pieces around the outside except for this one piece here. So we have to kind of figure out, well, how do we work out that unknown piece right there? Okay, and the way we do it is we just start with what we know. So there's 11 here, and we can take away 2 and 5. So to add up to 11, this must be 4. So we can translate that distance back up here and say that distance is 4. Okay, so once we have that, we can calculate the perimeter, which I'll calculate as P. And we just add just make sure that you don't double count anything, but I'm going to start at the 2. So 2, 7, 12, 14, 18, 23, 34. So we have a perimeter of 42. So when we work out the area of this object, we want to break it up into nice rectangles, because essentially area, we're counting squares, and we need rectangles to be able to calculate squares. So there's lots of ways I can break this up. I can break this up into pieces like that. Okay, I can break it up into one long rectangle and a couple smaller ones like that. No matter how you break this up, we can find out the area is going to be the same. It doesn't matter how we split it up. So I'm just going to use lengths that are most convenient. So in this case here, maybe I'll just stick with that one here. We have a width of 11, and so we just have to figure out this length. So it's 5 from here to here. So we take away the length of 2 along this edge, we end up with 3. So we're going to end up with an area of 33. Okay, and I'm just going to circle that to make sure that it's clear that this is different from the other measurements, because we don't want to mix perimeter measurements with area measurements. This area in here is a 2 by 4 rectangle, so that's going to be 8. And this is going to be a 2 by 5. Again, make sure you're using the right length here. So this is going to be 10. So when we add up all that, our area works out to be, 4351 square units. Okay, so this one will just say units squared. So same thing with this one, we have to figure out the unknown lengths here. So I need to work out this unknown length right here. Okay, this one here is, we can just say that's going to be the same on the other side. This length here is a little bit hard because we know it's 3 across here, so we know it's 4. That line there is going to be 4. But it includes this little bit in here. Okay, so we have to figure out that first. And we can figure that out from this top part up here. So that's going to be length of 1. Okay, so I'm going to do that using a little bit slightly different color so that we can see the different parts. So that's going to translate to 1 here, and which makes this length here going to add up to the remaining 7. So it's going to be 3 plus 1 plus something equals the bottom length of 7. So that must be 3 as well. Okay. Please don't assume that just because it looks the same, the lengths are the same though. That's not necessarily true. So once I've done that, I'm just going to use the rectangles that I've kind of set up already. So this is a 3 by 7 rectangle, so that's 21 squares here. This is 1 by 4, and again, make sure you use the right length. This edge length here is 4 that we're using. Okay, so that's going to be 4. This is going to be 6 And oh, we didn't calculate this edge length here. So this edge, far left edge is 6. This edge is 4, so we can be left with 2 for that length. And again, make sure you use the right edge to calculate the area. I'm going to have to use a top edge here, which is 6 by 2. So that area is 12 squares. So adding that up, I get 12, 16, 37. So area here works out to be 37 units squared. Okay, so make sure you understand the difference between perimeter and area. Again, perimeter is a distance, a linear distance around the object, so you should be able to lay it out in a straight line. Area is the number of squares, or the space that's occupied inside, and it's going to always be found with length and width. And that's how we get squares. And those lengths and widths have to be 90 degrees, otherwise we don't get the square shapes to measure the area. So what I would like you to do is go to this link here and log in. And you want to make sure you sign in so that you keep track of what you've done. Okay, read through the notes in there and then do the interactive activity of area field. And then do practice. Hit the practice button, and then you need to make sure that you get 10 questions correct and before you have enough practice in there.